beginning with the end in mind, we're going to make these really cool value rockets. So I'm going to have some idea sheets. This is obviously just one example, but a lot of ideas of different ways that you can draw a rocket. So pencil that in, and again, just use some of your own ideas as well as some of the ideas that are provided on the idea sheet, just so you have a place or an idea on how to get started. The other thing I wanted to mention today is when you get started on your rockets, draw it large. Try to make it fill up the majority of the page. Make your rocket as big as you can. This is the most important part of the project. So just kind of keep that in mind when you start drawing in pencil. I didn't really like that because don't add too much details to your rockets. And the reason for this is that when you start painting today, we just really want to focus in on showing value with paint. So I'm going to go ahead and make mine a warm colored rocket. You'll see that I got my yellows, my oranges, and my red paints. And then I'm going to go ahead and start painting my rocket. When you're using value, you can take this color plus a little bit of white to make it lighter, or you can also try this technique where I double dipped my brush. You could see that there was orange paint still on my brush. I dipped it into some red so that the red and the orange are mixing right on the paper. Notice that I'm keeping the red off to the left. I washed my brush and got that clean so that I'm going to start with my light color, my yellow, onto the opposite side. So you can do your values using warm colors in this way, or you can choose a color and add white to it, like I'll show you in the next example. Okay, so now that my brush is cleaned off, washed off, and ready to go, I am going to keep with my warm colored color scheme on my rocket. So I'm just using plain straight up red paint, no double dipping this time, not mixing on the paper, just straight red for any details. And then after I've washed my brush once more, I'm taking it and getting right into the yellow, plain white or regular yellow as my base coat that I'm putting onto my rocket. Okay, if you wanted to add more, just like you did for the body of the rocket, go ahead and keep your brush with a little bit of yellow paint on it. While the paint is still wet, go ahead and add a stripe or two of that orange or of that red, and then just let your colors mix onto the paper. So I've just put on some yellow, and don't mix it too much, just swipe it on there and let it go. All right, let's take a look at another example of cool colors. Remember how I said you could also use a color plus white? And I think that that would also show really nice values, lights to darks. And so my apologies, I don't have any purple at my house right now. So I'm just going to go ahead and start painting my rocket with some blue paint, straight up blue. After I've painted half of it in regular blue straight from the tube, I'm going to clean my brush to keep my white paint white. I suggest you do the same so that people that are also using white won't have any blue in their paint container. While I started putting the white paint on, you'll notice that the blue and the white are mixing because my blue paint hasn't dried yet. So you don't have to take another supply mixing tray or anything like that. Just go ahead and mix it right on the paper. And then lastly, just like I did with the top part with blue, I'll do the same thing with green at the bottom. Really showing that value of going one color to a tint. So green plus white, and then blending it right onto the paper. You can go back and forth between your green and your white, but I do ask that whenever you get into the white or yellow, please wash it because my white and my yellows do not stay yellow and white very often. And so the darker colors can handle it, but my lighter colors cannot. Anytime that you go into white or yellow, wash your brush. Otherwise, just dip your brush in, don't mix it, and then just load it up and start putting it onto the paper and use your paper as a mixing tray. You can see right now I had some green on my brush. No big deal. Just go ahead and paint on top of it and don't worry about any color mixing. In fact, in this project, I think it looks kind of cool when colors really are drying on the paper. Let it dry. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at day 2. This is what we're going to be doing once your paint has dried. When your paint has dried, you can go ahead and start to outline over your paint. Outlining over top of your paints and letting everything really stand out. I just already love the way that this is starting to look with an outline of black. really makes it look sharp and clean and crisp. And it just really makes even the values stand out even more. You know, the colors that you've put onto your rocket really just like, wow, really makes it look fantastic. So go ahead and take a black oil pastel and please outline your rocket. Let's take a look at how this looks. Cool. If you want to add any highlights or shiny marks, you know, like it's metal, your rocket's metal. So I just added a little bit of white oil pastel to make it look shiny, to make it look like it has some highlights to it. And then if you wanted to add any details to your rocket, keep your details at a minimum because we really want to focus on that value, going from lights to darks. So I'm just going to go ahead and put on a little bit of designs onto my rocket, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. So anyway, let's go ahead and finish that now. Now, once your rocket has enough details and drawings and you're ready to cut it out, take a pair of scissors and cut off the leftover white piece of paper. Get your scraps gone. The last part, the little bit that you have left over, is designing your background. So I went ahead and I used oil pastels for my background, a little bit of tissue paper onto the bottom part of my rocket to make it stand out. And I just really had fun making this project, not only working with value, but a little bit of collage as well. Have a great time, everybody.